So game one, I don't know about you. A little scarred here. I see a goal going in the 13th minute. I'm like, here we go again. Here we go inside the first 15 minutes. We're letting in goals.
You hit all those notes, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, that was my new song. So DC United, that's who they're taking on. They go up first. But I want to know, what's worse for you? Their late game collapse. By the way, DC United scoring 2 goals in stoppage time to end up beating Toronto 3-2. Or the fact that Lorenzo Insigne comes out in the first half, noticeably distraught. I mean, this guy could be out a couple weeks. We still don't know. Bob Bradley, after the game, didn't really give an update on him. But, like, their success is on the shoulders of their forwards as well. They're high-paying. Whether you like it or not, you know how it is in sports. It doesn't matter if you're a mediocre player. If I decide to give you $10 million a year, you are carrying the team. You just have to.
That's what it is.
Based on your salary. But now, I'm not saying Lorenzo's a mediocre player, but you know what I mean. Oftentimes you're judged by the dollar amount you make. Now he's out?
Yeah.
What?
I was telling you the other day, Trills, that I drive a Honda Fit 07 DX manual.
Yeah.
It's like a go-kart.
Manual.
Yeah, it can break down at any time. It has. Wifey's picked me up on the side of the road. It has broken down. This is my dream car, but it cost me $4K. I did a little research. A Tesla Model X SUV, $140K. Now, that can't break down on the road. If I'm gonna go pick up some groceries, wifey can't come get me in the Tesla and pick. That's what it is with Insigne. Like, he is the big dog, 15 mil. He's supposed to come here and bang goals and at the very least play. So having that expensive player on the bench is very painful right now for anyone who's a fan of TFC.
No kidding. Ayo comes in, Ayo Akinola. I have a lot of faith in this kid. Keep calling him a kid. I mean,
he has potential.
He has so much potential, and I feel for him. I mean, we know his story. I mean, this is a guy where there was a lot of hype around him. Would he play for the United States? Would he play for Canada? He chooses Canada. So Gray comes on in, Gold Cup, like a minute in, tears his ACL. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
I even heard that, like, Josie Altidore, because, you know, Josie took a lot of the young guys under his wing, too, when he was with Toronto FC. Like, Josie was in tears, because he's like, this is an ACL.
Yeah.
Like, this is not easy to bounce back from. Right? So, you know, we also know that he ended up getting COVID in his recovery. I mean, this is a guy whose fitness took a knock. So he is working so hard to get back. And Bob Bradley knows he needs to work with him. He knows he needs to finesse the game a little bit, right? So he comes on in, has a brilliant chance. The blade of grass got him, though. Like, it's... Aw, come on. It tripped him up.
It did. He got swallowed in it a little bit. I mean, the kid has potential. I think I'm not going to get too crazy about one game because it is a long season. But I think for him, it is just the fitness and then getting his confidence back because the potential's there. He has a glimmer of, I want to say brilliance, but potential. Like, he can come off the bench or be a guy that starts and like contributes. And it's not that deep in the MLS where you need to come and score 10, 15 goals, but can he score 6, 7 and be fit and be ready to be called upon? Because that's another issue that I want to talk to you about, Trills, is like, how do you feel about TFC's depth? They made 2 subs. One was forced. Yep. I don't think they planned on subbing off Insigne, obviously, in the first half. You're going to ride or die with that guy playing. But you're looking at their bench, and no disrespect to their players, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, a season. You have 34 games, you have CAN champs, you have so many games to play. What do you feel about TFC's depth?
Not good. Not good, because Bob Bradley was asked that in the post-game press conference. He was asked, like, you made 2 subs. And we're going to get into the collapse pretty soon, but, you know, whether that was a mental collapse, whether that was because of conditioning, fitness, he was asked, like, why only 2 subs? Which, to your point, 1 was forced. And he didn't really come out and say, because I have no faith in my bench. Yeah. But he was just basically like, yeah, I guess the guy's retired, but, you know, you got to give it. Like, and that's a problem. That's a real problem. So I think, you know, Toronto FC can't be done, or you got to have maybe a little bit more faith then in that bench. Who knows? I don't know, right? We got to go to training. You got to see how guys are looking, or, you know, at least whatever information they're willing to share. But that is a real issue when it's so visible that your team is losing ground in the final, like, 10 minutes of the game, or, you know, 15 minutes of the game. You see DC pushing. They're at home.
Yeah.
They have the crowd behind them too. And then there you go. So let's talk about this. 90th and 98-minute goals. Once again, I'm like, here we go again, giving up goals in the last 15 minutes.
I had no clue today when I saw you that it was going to be a musical type of show. Like, if I knew that, I would, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Like, I would have warmed up. I would have made sure I was ready, but you just, as soon as you started the show, you started singing.
This is TFC's MO. You look at last year. Started games, horrible, playing catch up. Brilliant way to come back. So you're like, his team's got potential. Look at them. They come back. Now they even have the lead. Mark Anthony Kaye puts Toronto in the lead. Woo!
Yeah.
And then it's a collapse.
That's mental, though. Playing the game, any goal that's scored in any extra time, it is mental at that point. I will say, people will argue and say that TFC maybe didn't have the best game, but I think when they started the second half and they were trailing 1-0, that there were glimpses of like, hey, we can go and do this. And then you have a moment of brilliance with, I would say the free kick by Bernardeschi is just class. And then whatever, you get a bit of luck, it falls to Mark Anthony Kaye, and for him to just be there at the right time and to fall a rebound, score 2-1. At that point, at that moment, you switch your mindset. I'm not saying park the bus and go and defend, but I'm saying like a road win is great. You know what it's like, Andy. You've been following this game for many years. You've played it. You're talking about Von Lightning. Shout out to your girls. But when you're on the road, it's different. You just have to get a result. At home, you can feel more comfortable. You can, if it's tied, you can maybe go push. You got the crowd behind you. Your first game with all these changes, Insigne out, as soon as it goes 2-1, flip the switch. You're like, hey, let's just protect what we have.
I'm just playing 10 back.
Let's go home with 3 points. I didn't see that with TFC, and that for me was like just an error in their ways. Like if we're gonna talk about their first game, it's like, hey, you go up. You're down. You had a deficit. You turned it around 2-1. Protect that. I think it was just a bit of a mental lapse and a bit of not being calculated to not get the 3 points.
Yeah, everyone just like, don't drop too deep, but defend.
Defend with your life.
Still felt like they were pushing for goals, which, okay, I get it. It's entertainment, or maybe that's your style, but that's where it's a little bit tactic to me as well. Like, sure, it's mental. Everyone's got to be committed to protecting that lead.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, I feel it's direction too. You have to be told, right? Like, protect that lead. Bernardeschi, by the way, getting out of the goal, penalty kick, just step up him to the spot all the time.
I think so. And I talked about on One Soccer Today that he could have 20 goals. And obviously if you're adding pens and the way he took that free kick, a little bit more on that, and that goes in, that's 2 goals right there easily. So I was just going to ask you quickly, Trills, any positives from that game, from TFC?
Well, I mean, you can, of course. They came back. Bottom line, I mean, it stinks that they have to play catch up, but they've proven they can come back.
Yeah.
I did think Bernardeschi looked good. I think Ayo's just lacking a finishing touch, but I think the potential is there. He puts himself in the right position. The ball's at his feet. It's just what's happening, there.
Yeah.
I like the way Michael Bradley looked. Listen, I have questions around a guy who's getting older. I always have questions around guys getting older. That's game one. We'll see as the season progresses, but I still think Bradley looked good. Like, there was a lot there where I'm like, and then the back line, this is a brand new back line with the exception of Richie Larea. So I'm just like, who are these guys? I thought Petretta looked great.
Yeah.
I thought he had a lot of speed up the wing. He was contributing offensively too. Didn't find himself out of place too much either, defensively, except for, of course, the collapse at the end of the game, where I think that was on everybody. But there's a lot where I'm going, okay. But yes, you see how quickly things can go sideways for a team that doesn't have depth. So that to me ends up becoming the biggest concern.
That's the biggest concern for sure.